We are divinized. We are transformed. Which is why Jesus Christ can say, behold, I make all things new. So he, don't mind me here, he delights to do that. So he's coming into your life, into my life, all the time, making all things new. And he's coming to the heart. And see, the thing is that the heart, like the Catechism says, it goes beyond our intellect. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about something, and I just had such a deep pain in my own heart. And it was bypassing my intellect, because I could perceive what they were saying with my intellect, but it got me so deep, I knew that it was God speaking to me, something like in the core of my being. And I knew it. And it's like the core of who I am. This is the part where you and I, when we choose to live our life, Jesus says, from the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks. Have you ever had something come out of your mouth and you're like, I can't believe I just said that? Or it's coming out and you're like, no. Or it comes out with like an edge on it, and you're like, ooh, girl, I had no idea that was. Or it comes out and you're like way more excited than you knew you were. Somebody's like, you're really excited about that. You're like, yeah, I guess I am. I didn't really know that about myself. Like, we're a mystery unto ourselves. Sometimes I don't understand. Like St. Paul says, I do what I don't want to do, and I don't do what I do want to. I just don't get it. But see, the thing is that God knows us. And this is what I love about him. I love so much about him. But another thing I love about him is that, he knows us. See, for us, there's a veil because we're broken, right? And so we give ourselves to God in pieces because we're little and broken. But God doesn't give himself to us in pieces. He gives himself to us fully. So when you and I see God face to face on the day that we leave this earth and we go home, and we see the one we've been yearning for this entire time, there will be no veil between us. There will be no, oh, you didn't understand. We have misunderstandings, don't we, with people? We're like, oh, that's not what I meant, or, yeah, I said it like that, but that's not what I meant, or gosh, I didn't. There is going to be none of that. There's not going to be like, oh, Lord, you didn't understand. Because he does. Like St. Augustine says that God is more intimate to me than I am to myself. He is the indwelling within us. So he's desiring to set us free. So all is seen and all is known. And you know very well, my dear sisters, to have an authentic relationship with anybody requires vulnerability and honesty. And I think that scares us sometimes, to be quite honest with you. I think it scares, sometimes, I see things in my own heart and I'm like, ooh, like I said, I didn't know that was in there, or there are places that I need to go, Jesus is asking me to go, but they're a little bit scary to me, Or maybe we've had relationships before that didn't go too well, so we just kind of live these guarded lives. But Jesus is about the heart, he's about the revelation, and he's the one who can bear all of our hearts. He can bear our weight, and he desires to do so. So he's always coming into our life. I'm so grateful that he does this. He's always coming to our life and just shattering the paradigms that we have of him. Because our vision of God, our idea of God is not too big. It's way too small. It is way too small. And we are just like the disciples in the Gospels, which gives me great hope. I love usually to speak about art when I give talks, and so this is one of my favorite paintings. It's a very famous work of art. Maybe it's in your house as well. It's by a Swiss painter named Robert Zund, and it's called Jesus on the Road to Emmaus. And even though Robert Zund was more of a modern painter, like late 19th century painter, he never painted modern architecture. He only painted, to get this, he only painted lush, idyllic landscapes. So if you look at all of his art, it's all this beautiful kind of idyllic, like landscapes. And so here is where he set Jesus on the road to Emmaus with the disciples. And there's so many things I love about this painting, but one of the things I love, I love the richness of it. It looks like it's like a warm spring day. You can almost feel like the weather when you look at it. And you can see the detail of the tree trunks at the bottom left. And obviously a PowerPoint slide does not do it justice to the original. But one of the things I love about it is it looks like you could jump right in the story, doesn't it? And just follow them on the road to Emmaus. And here's another example of what's happening. Is that the disciples, I don't think we understand many times, when we talk about freedom and conversion, I don't think we understand kind of the events of Good Friday, the events of Holy Week, and how traumatic that would have been. Like we read the Passion, during Holy Week, and we hold the palms, but we're really removed of what really happened. Because see, in the East, if you're a disciple, you live with the Master, and you eat with the Master, and you study with the Master. You don't go home after school. It's like a full-time gig. So much so that you know how there's that saying that married couples look like after a while, because they begin to resemble themselves, so much so that people would be able to tell who your master was based on watching you. Oh, would that be true, right? That people could look at us and say, I know who your master is. But that's how it was in the East. When you studied under somebody, their mannerisms became yours, and their words became yours, and you became one with your master. So these people that were following Christ, they saw him walk on water. They saw him raise the dead. They saw him heal lepers. They saw him preach the gospel. They saw him convert. They were there the whole time. And haven't you and I said at times, if I would just be alive in the time of Christ, I would have believed. Well, we know that's not true. That can't be, because here are these people that lived with him, and they still struggled like you and I. There's such a great hope for us, right? At this moment, where Jesus, they heard him say, the Son of Man's going to suffer and he's going to die, but he's going to be raised on the third day, and they can't fathom that. They don't even understand what that means. And so what happens? He's betrayed by one of their own. Whew. And that man, Judas, goes out and he takes his own life. Could you imagine? Could you imagine the intimacy of that? Jesus horribly betrayed one of their own. That man goes out and takes his own life. He commits suicide. And then Jesus delivered. And you sat at dinner with him, and here's Christ giving his life to you, and you're saying in your heart, Peter says it out loud, but they all said it, oh Lord, we're going to die with you. We're going to go to the end with you. Peter's like, please let me. I promise you, I'll die with you. And she's like, Peter, because he knows that Peter, before the cock crows, you're going to deny me 3 times. Peter's like, I would never do that. See, I would never do that. And I can just imagine Christ just knowing Peter, oh, this is going to be a really hard lesson for you, right? Because what happens, he's betrayed, the disciples scatter. One of them runs away naked. That's how fierce it was to get out of the garden. That's how scared he was. He runs away naked, And Jesus delivered, he's scourged. To be crucified at that time in Roman history is the most humiliating way you could die. Only slaves and rebels were crucified. Roman citizens were too dignified to be crucified. St. Paul was beheaded, he wasn't crucified. So Jesus Christ, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, humbly surrenders to being crucified. They scourge him, right? They scourge you right up to the point to where you die, but they don't let you die. They actually keep you alive. They indeed put the beam on your shoulder, and you're marched right through town with your crime around your neck. People are spitting at you, cussing you out, And you're crucified not outside in way outside the countryside. You're crucified outside the city gates, but on the main highway. So everybody coming in Jerusalem knows who rules here. Thank you very much. The Romans ruled by terror. They were very good at it. And one of the last things they did before they crucified you was they stripped you naked. Now we, out of our own sensibilities, have a loincloth on Christ. He was totally naked. You talk about vulnerability? What is more vulnerable than somebody being crucified literally on a cross, completely naked? And here's the beautiful thing, my dear sisters. Here's Jesus Christ, the bridegroom, literally giving his life so the bride can live. And he is stripped naked. And he's hanging there for her. And people see it. And his last words are not ones of revenge or resentment or mind use. His last words are among them, Father, forgive them, for they